Doing two NFL player props here on Prize Picks for Thursday Night Football between the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers. Before we get started, you guys check out the link in the description below. You can sign up for our premium Discord. $9.30 per month is where I post all the plays I'm personally making on Prize Picks for each given sport that I do play. We also have some other premium cappers in there as well that post all of their player props, research, and analysis. So go ahead and check out the link in the description below. But let's get into it. I do need to mention to you guys as well, I'm not a gambling expert and this is not financial advice. Simply just plays I'm personally looking at making. Hopefully giving you guys some insight and analysis to make your own player prop decisions here. Again, no one is pressing submit most parlays other than yourselves. But let's get right into it, you guys. Thursday Night Football, Lions, Packers, divisional game here. Usually divisional games are pretty close competitive games, especially with these two teams, probably the front runners for coming out to win that division, NFC North. So yeah, let's get right into it. First play is going to be Jordan Love, over 16 fantasy score. Now, I literally like maybe 10 minutes ago, I finished recording this same exact video that I'm recording right now, and Jordan Love's fantasy score is at 15 flat, and as soon as I finished the video, the play was removed, and then I refreshed, and then he set at 16. Like literally, I gave the Discord like 15 minutes ago. I gave the Discord Jordan Love at 15 fantasy score flat on the over, and he bumped, right? So this is just kind of what the product of how this industry kind of works with these bumps here. But at 16, I normally don't like playing bumps, and again, it's very interesting here that they did bump him to 16, but I'm still going to be taking the over on this. I'm going to talk about why I still like it. Jordan Love, if you take a look at his last three games, last three starts this season as a starter for the Green Bay Packers, he's over this line, 23, 20, and 25.26 fantasy score here for Jordan Love. Now, obviously, he was at 15. Now he's at 16, 16.0 push potential. Just right off the bat, you guys, Daily Grind Fantasy, Jordan Love, there's some discrepancy here. It's 53.9% odds to hit this line of 16. He's listed on DraftKings and Caesars, Barstool. Obviously, there's not fantasy score lines on those sports books, but taking into account all Jordan Love's props, they combine this and give a fantasy score line. So he is discrepancy, right? He's listed currently actually on Underdog Fantasy. He's listed on Underdog. Actually, let me just check this on my phone. He's listed on Underdog right now currently at 17.35. So he's at 1.35 discrepancy on Underdog compared to Prize Picks. So I'm still going to be taking the over on this based on that discrepancy. But let's, again, get into why I like this play. Right off the bat here, a fantasy score line for Jordan Love to hit 16, like just to say conservatively, right? I did have him at 235 and a touchdown for 15.2 fantasy points, but let's just say for some reason he throws 250, right? 250, 16 is 15.8, 250. Let's say he gets 25 rushing yards, which it could be pretty attainable for him. 16.5. So 250 a passing touchdown and 25 rushing yards gets Jordan Love 16.5 fantasy points. Like I said, he's cleared this in every single game, in every single start this season. Something that's concerning to me is just Jordan Love's pass completion percentage. He's only at 52% on the year, which is extremely low. Like that's actually lower than like Justin Fields, but his yards per attempt is absolutely elite. He actually is, I believe, first in the NFL at intended yards per pass attempt, 10.6, which is intended yards per pass attempt, average depth of target, whether completed or not. And then he's actually fourth in the National Football League at intended air yards, which are air yards on all pass attempts, whether completed or incomplete. So he loves to move the ball downfield, but one of the reasons why I like this play here is just with the amount of weapons that Jordan Love has kind of in this offense. Like the Packers, you know, they lose Aaron Rodgers. They think maybe it kind of could be a down year here. But, I mean, Jordan Love in the Packers offense looks honestly really, really good. Like, and considering the players that they're going to be getting back here in this game, right? He's basically getting his number one wide receiver back for this game now. They don't have like a ton of connection, obviously, last year. Christian Watson playing with Aaron Rodgers, but I mean, Christian Watson, probably the number one wide receiver in this offense. He also getting Aaron Jones back in this offense. So, I mean, it should be, I mean, it's a pretty deep offense overall. Like, they got Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Luke Musgrave at tight ends is looking really good. And then now Christian Watson and Aaron Jones coming back. It's just a ton of options for Jordan Love. Like, literally a ton of options in what should be a pretty decent game. I think the over-under is set at like 45 for this matchup, which is a good enough, I mean, high enough over-under, for Jordan Love to be able to clear this line. We look at some other quarterbacks this season versus the Detroit Lions. Geno Smith finished with 23 fantasy, and Patrick Mahomes finished with 20.5 fantasy. Patrick Mahomes obviously in that game without his number one weapon in Travis Kelce in that opening day game. Finished with 20 for 39, 226 pass yards and then 2 touchdowns. Did throw an interception in that game as well, but without his and that was with Kadarius Toney dropping a ton of passes. I think Patrick Mahomes at 20.5 seems a little bit skewed here. But yeah, like I said, Christian Watson coming back. You can see here why the return of Christian Watson Lions can benefit Jordan Love, right? He offers that another deep threat. Not that they don't have deep threats already, but Jordan Love playing as well as he had. I think he's like third in the NFL in pass touchdowns. And you can see here, as we've learned over the last few weeks, Jordan Love loves to throw the ball downfield. He ranks second in pass attempts, 20-plus yards, and first in air yards, targets, minus spikes, 10.6. Currently, 4 Packers rank in the top 45 in air yards per target. This is where Watson comes in. Watson ranked top 10 in yards per reception and number 7 in air yards per target. Watson became the first rookie wideout in Super Bowl era to record 8 touchdowns in a 4-game span since Randy Moss. So adding Christian Watson into an offense where Jordan Love has already cleared 20-plus fantasy points in his first 3 starts, I think at home here, coming off a comeback victory that he had against the New Orleans Saints last week. On a short week, we kind of like to target quarterbacks just given the opportunity that they do have in offense to rack up fantasy score points, right? I like Jordan Love over 16. Again, the discrepancy is listed at 17.25 on Underdog. Unfortunate that this line did bump. I know I did give this in the Discord at 15. I still do like it though at 16. I'm actually re-recording this video for you guys at 16. So I like that. First play, Jordan Love over 16 fantasy score. The second play is going to be Josh Reynolds. Now hopefully this line didn't bump. Josh Reynolds over 2.5 receptions here. So Josh Reynolds here, talking specifically about Josh Reynolds in kind of this offense for the Detroit Lions. He's coming off a game, and we get this deflated line here. He's coming off a game where he literally had, I'm actually got Amon-Ra St. Brown's player, but he literally had no targets. He's coming off a game with 0 targets, which is why we get this inflated line at 2.5. I think if he had a normal game against the Falcons, this line would have been set at 3.5. So we get it at 2.5 here. First 2 weeks of the season, 7 targets, 4 receptions. Second week, 6 targets, 5 receptions. And then again, he still ran 24 routes, but had 0 targets. I think that's just coming down to him not being able to get him separation against the cornerbacks or whoever was guarding him. He did have that groin injury heading into last week's game. If you watch the game, you watch kind of some of the highlights, he did look a little gimpy out there, but he did come out of that game, no setbacks, and he's practiced full all week. So I definitely think he's going to bounce back here. We get a 2.5-point receptions line for Josh Reynolds. Just seems a little bit too low for a guy who's going to run close to 25 routes tonight, and he's continuing to see a massive snap count. Obviously, 70-plus snap count in all 3 games, and still running. He's good for 50 snap counts, 50 snaps tonight. Obviously, the second most on the team. In this matchup, we take a look at some other wide receiver 2s this season against the Green Bay Packers. Essentially in that offense for the Saints, Michael Thomas is a wide receiver 2. He finished with 9 targets, 6 receptions. Darnell Mooney, the wide receiver 2 for the Bears, behind DJ Moore, finished with 7 targets on 4 receptions. And then Mack Hollins, who's, again, considered, I would say, a backup wide receiver, or not a backup, but a wide receiver 2, or even a third option in that Falcons offense, finished with 6 targets for 3 receptions. So if we can get a 6-target line here or opportunity, even 4 or 5 targets for Josh Reynolds, I think could be enough for him to clear this line. I know historically the Packers have shut down Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is why I actually had his player profile pulled up. Last season against the Packers, Amon-Ra St. Brown had some of his weaker games on the year. I mean, he finished last season against the Packers, played him twice, 6 receptions for 49 yards, and then 4 receptions for 55 yards. So, I mean, Jaire Alexander, if he plays tonight, should be covering Amon-Ra, which should open up a ton of opportunity for him, for Josh Reynolds. So, Josh Reynolds over 2.5 receptions is the second play. And again, just in general, the Lions just don't have a ton of plays on the board right now. Like, literally, we got no Jahmyr Gibbs, and we got to work with what we can work with. So, again, if you don't like the Reynolds or you don't like the Love, you don't have to take it, you guys. These are just plays I'm personally looking at making here. So, again, let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about these 2 player props here for tonight's game. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and as always, let's cash.